Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast, a podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is Alan and Sharon Cawthorne, and they own Podiatry Gait Clinic, Middlesbrough, North Yorkshire in the UK. Why have I got Alan and Sharon on here today? It's not just because they're coming to my podiatry marketing masterclass in Liverpool on the 2nd of March 2026, which means they are highly intelligent. I got them to come on here because Alan sent me an email just commenting on the podcast and a few insights that he had taken away from it. And it put the biggest smile on my face for 2025. And I wrote back to him and said, you need to come on here. We need to talk. So Alan and Sharon, welcome to the podcast.
Good evening. That's good evening in the UK. It's good morning where you are.
Thanks, Tyson. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank
it's good to be here.
You sent me an email just saying that you had only come across the podcast after the Foot and Ankle show last year, and then you just started binging on it. And then you did a bit of a summary on what your takeaways were. And I couldn't believe half the things I had said.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I knew the podcast was out there, and I thought it was mainly on likes of Facebook. So if you're driving somewhere, you don't want any distractions. And then basically, we worked in IT for about 20 years. And you'd think that you'd always be at the cutting end of technology. What you find is when you've been working in IT, what happens is when you leave it, you just want something to work. You don't keep trying to keep up with things.
Yeah.
So we always seem to be late to the party with technology.
Always late to the party anyway. I don't know what's going on. It's never late.
So it's only when I started, what's this Spotify thing? I'll start using that. And I thought, I wonder if the podcast's on next one. And I found you. I thought, great. So that's when I found it and just started listening to some episode one. And I think it went to like 160 in a matter of a couple of months. So every time I was out driving somewhere, the podcast was on, and you get like an abundance of information being hit at you. So yeah, that's basically, like I say, it's finding Breaking Bad for the first time and then losing the whole weekend.
It's like Breaking Bad. Watch the first season, then jump to the third season. That's just my opinion. But it's funny you say that. It's something I've got to remember too, that I've had people say to me, I'd love to listen to the podcast, but I don't really feel like paying for something right now. I'm like, you don't pay for it, it's free. And they go, oh, is it? I didn't know that. But even you're saying, because I do, I post it on Facebook, and a lot of people may click on those links and it goes through to the Podiatry Legends podcast website. People probably think, oh, have I got to be online to actually listen to this? So that's a good reminder for me that I should make sure, remind people that it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, it's anywhere where you can listen to anything else, you'll find it.
Yeah, definitely.
So Sharon, were you binging as well, or you were just hearing all the comments?
I'm dipping in and out of it because obviously I'm an acupuncturist. I'm not a pod, but I do a lot of MSK work.
Oh, but we'll point out too before we go any further, that you're also a female actor.
I am a female actor as well, and yes, I've been quite a few bits. I've done stage, I've done radio, TV, film. I've done quite a bit. But yeah, that's what kind of dipping in and out of in the car because when no one's listening to it. And so I'm starting off at episode 16 of the podcast, and the next like episode 87, and I'm like, okay, can I bridge this somewhere? I mean, even I'm enjoying them as obviously an acupuncturist. I find that it's not just necessarily for podiatrists. It's been transient for me as well because I've learned a lot that's helped me with my acupuncture business.
Yeah, I've got two friends here in Cairns that I'm very aware of. One is a graphic designer and one is a financial planner. And they both listen to the podcast on a regular basis. And they said, I remember one in particular saying to me, I didn't realize how interesting podiatry was when you're talking about different things, but just how everything we talk about just translates to any other profession.
Yeah.
It's all the same information. And even people's stories, things they've gone through and come out the other side better for it. People can relate to that even through in a different profession.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, Alan, what prompted you to do the email in the first place? Were you just sitting there going, I have to do this? But what? Because it wasn't a short email. It wasn't, hey, I like the podcast. It was quite an extensive, long email.
You actually should have seen the length of the email. And Alan said to me, look at that. What do you think? And I was thinking, oh, no, what now? What's this? And I saw you writing to Tyson. I said, look, you need to condense that down a little bit more. And then that's the short version that you got.
So
yeah, it was. I think when you've seen so many episodes, you're thinking sometimes you can listen to an episode and just one small nugget comes. No, and you get lots of things out of it.
Yeah.
But something will jump out with something so simple that hasn't even been part of the main theme, and you're thinking that's something to take away. And you focus on that, and that it's 5% change makes it an 80% difference. And there was all these little things that I'd done and changed, and I thought it's just a good thing to feed back, because there'll be people who haven't listened to it from the beginning, or they've just picked it up and they're running from the current episodes,
yeah,
and they'll be going back slowly. And it's you do this one thing, and this makes such a difference. So I thought, yeah, I'll put an email. I'll keep saying, if you enjoy it, send me an email. So I thought, yeah, I'll do
I
it.
know. I tell everybody that if you're enjoying the show, send me an email, because I do. I keep all the emails, because every now and then, and I mentioned this in episode 400, that over the 7 years of doing the show, sometimes you sit there going, is there any point doing this? Yeah, I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any comments from people. So you wonder, is everyone just, are they bored or sick of it? And then you'll get an email like yours and you realize, no, people are getting something from this. They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I must admit, sometimes it's really selfish for me. I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I fortunately get to talk to the guests like I'm talking to you. But then I also get to listen back to it when I'm doing the edit. And then I will actually put it in the car and I'll listen to it the following day while I'm driving, just to hear how it sounds, because every now and then mistakes happen. And people are very quickly to point it out to me when it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go on some of the things you took away from the podcast, which I think are important, is what got you into podiatry in the first place?
I had a friend who was a podiatrist, a chap called Paul Milburn, and I met him well over 30 years ago. So we used to do, he used to do Aikido. He was teaching Aikido back then, and I'd gone along, and I've been training him for a couple of years, and then I dropped out, and I bumped him a couple of years later, and we were chatting, so I'm a bit still in the job I'm doing. I could do with a big change, and he said, "Why don't you try podiatry?" And he said there's a lot of different areas, and he was telling me about it, and I gave it some thought, and I was like, we don't make these decisions quickly. And there's, of course, you're in a Portuguese bar on holiday.
In happy hour.
Yeah.
So
that's when you make decisions, during happy
that's
when you make decisions.
Yeah. Some of the best ones.
I'd been thinking about it, and we'd gone on holiday, and the jobs we had in IT were very high level, very high stressed. And we'd take 2 weeks off, and you spend the first week trying to de-stress. Then the second week, you could actually relax and enjoy yourself. And you'd be back at work Monday morning by 12 o'clock, you're bouncing off the roof again. So
we actually worked for the same company, and we were in the same team, and we both did the same job. But part of the big drawback was that when he was on call, then I wasn't, and when I was on call, he wasn't. So we were on call every other week. It was unrelenting. The stress was unrelenting, and we got to this Portuguese beach bar, and then just decided we'd had a bit of an epiphany. And then we'd had enough. We wanted to change. We had a career change.
Then what should we do with our lives?
Yeah, with the rest of it.
I think if everybody is at that point in their life where they think they need to pivot, going to happy hour at a beach bar is probably the place to do it. I don't think I've ever made a bad decision at a happy hour at a beach bar in my life.
Exactly. You can't make a bad decision.
No.
So, and then the rest was history kind of thing after that.
We staggered out to this bar. I was going to retrain to be a podiatrist. You're going to be an acupuncturist, because you'd had acupuncture for various things. Yeah. So we had to go and try and find a hotel that had free internet access, because it was before the days of smartphones and iPhones and everything.
All of that kind of
and
stuff.
We found that there was a college for podiatry in Durham, and you found out there was the Northern College of Acupuncture in York. And they were like in 1 hour's direction opposite to where we live. So we were actually living right bang slap in the middle.
Yeah.
So we both applied, and the rest is history.
We got accepted as mature students. So
how old were you at the time when you made that decision?
Oh gosh, we were.
I think we were 36 when we made the decision.
30s.
But it took another 2 years of planning before we actually joined. Yeah. Before we made the shift. So basically,
so you're old enough to be. They say sometimes people under 26. Is it the frontal cortex, something isn't developed yet enough, so they make some bad decisions? You were in your 30s, so that was well developed. You knew exactly what you were doing.
We knew we'd had enough. It was just off the wall, stress all the time. And we thought, well, we'll go and do something, we'll help people, and it
Yeah.
will all kind of nice and touchy-feely and all that malarkey. And it couldn't be further from the truth. We've actually feel like we've swapped some days. We've swapped one stress for something else, so we bring a business together as well. And it's not the first time we've worked together. And we have our moments.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we
But
have.
you being a female actor means you could pretend to be happy when you're not.
Always. Happy person.
So you decided to do this while you were studying, going through the courses. At any stage, did you think, have we made the wrong decision here? Or right from the start, you went, no, we're doing the right thing?
Every week.
I remember in one lecture within the first couple of weeks, they were talking about the contents of the cell. It was one of these days, my mind just went off for a second somewhere else. And when I came back in again, I'm thinking, what are they talking about? And at that point, I think, what the hell have I done?
Yeah.
And you caught up with it and you thought, oh yeah, you got back on track. But yeah, I think you keep saying, as a mature student, you know that you've got to graduate. There's no ifs, no buts. You've got to pass at the end. And then you've got to get a job, because you can't think, oh, I've passed it, well, what should I go on down? Because you think you've taken 3 years out of your life, out of your working life, 3 years without salary. And you can't really go back to your old career because it moves on so quickly anyway.
And to be fair, just a few years before we'd made the decision to retrain, Alan had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Okay.
So we obviously had to juggle, obviously his Crohn's flares up at the university, having to make sure that we had enough money to pay bills, because as mature students, you've still got to pay bills, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't let you put them on hold for 3 years while you're making a career change.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you can do that. You've still got to mortgage to pay. You've still got all your bills to pay. So it was a challenge. Let's say that it wasn't easy. And on reflection, would we do it again? Don't know.
I think I'm glad we've done the journey.
Yeah.
It's been really. What actually happened between leaving work, we were waiting for redundancies coming in, and if that had kicked in, that would have been great. We've got a nice big redundancy package, then you can put that to one side. And we were offered redundancy. So in the end, we handed our notices in and we actually went working freelance for 18 months. We actually ended up working for IBM out in Sweden, backwards and forwards.
What was it during that period that you were at the Portuguese beach bar?
That was just prior to leaving and going freelance.
Oh, okay.
So that was, we went we lived in Stockholm for a little while, which is interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that was quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, in fact, the contract finished on the Friday. I flew back to the UK and I started my course on the Tuesday.
Not a big break in between.
No, just like bang straight into it. So, but yeah, interesting journey, but worth doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you popped out the other end. You both graduated.
Yeah.
And then I was reading through your bio. So you started working for yourself pretty quickly, which I find a lot of mature age students do compared to like younger people who have graduated. And I think it could be because you've already got life experience. And I think that's one of the things younger podiatrists, some just naturally have it. They just naturally got great communication skills. But I think a lot of younger podiatrists, it takes time to get used to dealing with the public. I'd say that's probably one reason you went out on your own, but you also work part-time for the NHS.
Yeah, initially there was very little NHS work around. And then eventually a part-time role came up where they were taking quite a few pods on. So I thought, well, I may as well take the part-time role, keep the private practice rolling at the same time. And they kept going for quite a while. And then I'd just been moved up from a band 5, which is your entry level, to a band 6. And then Sharon said to me one night, oh, she says, there's a job going here, MSK position. I said, well, they've just moved me partly into that. She said, yeah, she says, but it's a band 7, it's next level up. And it's felt that it's like really jumped at it quickly. And I said, oh, I'm okay. I said, it's probably over at the NHS the other side of the road, which I said, I'm happy where I am. And she says, no, it's the MOD, it's the Ministry of Defence. I said, send me the application form. And so I applied and I managed to get with the MOD. So I was with them for 2 years. And again, that was purely an MSK role. And again, the private practice is still ticking over and everything's ticking over nicely. And the private practice was building. and you just felt like you had this almost like a tsunami of work coming over you, and you couldn't deal with it while you're on a military base. They get a bit funny. You're taking private phone calls when you're supposed to
Yeah.
be dealing with the squaddies. So again, we were on holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
And we'd rented this cottage, and we sat there in the extension, and she says, I like this cottage, it's really nice, isn't it? I said, yeah, it's nice. She says,
In Cornwall.
we're in
We're
Cornwall.
in Cornwall.
And I said, what do you like about it? She said, I like the fact that there's no treatment table in the extension. The upstairs back bedroom isn't full of podiatry gear and acupuncture needles. Maybe it's time for us to go our own place full time.
Because I was actually working from home as an acupuncturist, you see. I'd got to the point where I think I want a commercial clinic. I didn't want all of my equipment. I didn't want to be seeing patients at home anymore. And so we made the decision to get a clinic there and then. It always seems to be after we're on holiday and we've been to a bar. And we just
It's because, well, I think when you're in a different location, like I tell the coaching clients that if you really want to do some like critical thinking and make some decisions, get out of your clinic, get out of your house, and go and sit in a different location. I always have my brain book. And this is my brain book for this year. I got a new brain book from Dave Freeze for Christmas, leather bound. It is absolutely beautiful and fantastic.
Nice.
But when I really want to do some thinking, I will grab a pen and sometimes I write nothing. I just think. And other times different ideas will pop in my head, or there's something I'm trying to make a decision on, but I need to be out of my normal environment. And I think that's what you find when you guys are on holidays and you're into your third or fourth margarita. It just sets the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really does. I think we just get out of our heads and it just can't, hang on a minute. I think this is what we need to do. And to be fair, it's usually me that drives it. Alan's fantastic. He's very good at being very methodical. We're both very methodical, but I think I'm a little bit more, hang on a minute, right, I think this is what we can do.
I'm picking up the dynamics between you two already.
You can tell who's the actress who's in front of me. Sorry, the actor that's usually in front of the camera.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No, but I think in every relationship though, there needs to be that one person who usually will take the lead, and possibly doesn't. It's not that they make the decisions and that's how it is, but somebody's got to throw an idea out there and go, well, what do you think? Okay. And then you work on it together and make it a reality. It's not like you're a dictator. So Sharon, I don't see you as a dictator. I'm not saying that. Now, if people aren't watching the video, if people just saw the look on Alan's face, then this is why you should watch it. This is why you should watch the video on YouTube as well. Sometimes it's quite funny. So you'd made the decision you were going to set up your own clinic full time, and both of you move in there.
Yeah. And it'd be like a timeshare, really. So you were in there usually 2 days a week.
No, I was in 3.
Oh, you were in 3 days a week. And I would be in, obviously, 3 days a week or 2.5 days a week.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Because we have another clinic, or I do a room rental at another clinic about 50 minutes drive away.
In Helmsley.
In Helmsley, in North Yorkshire. So it's one of these little market towns. It's sort of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Anybody on Seaside or North Yorkshire, it's the place to go to if you're a biker, because the roads there are it's almost like being on the Isle of Man TT race. It's one of these windy roads to get there. So it's really nice that 1 day a week you jump the car and you have a nice drive through the country to get to work, do a nice full day's clinic, jump the car and have a nice drive home again.
Yeah.
Except in the middle of winter.
Apart from in winter, yes, it can be a bit dicey there. So yeah, we got our own clinic, we got it set up, and it was ticking over nicely, and everything's going well. But then you get to the stage where you see new technologies up and coming, and what you're doing isn't really sort of
cutting the mustard.
Yeah.
As I said. Well, to be fair though, we actually had COVID that hit us. The clinic was going really, really well, and then COVID kicked in, and that set us back a little bit, didn't it?
Set a lot of people back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. They had a lot to answer for, and then it was a case of, well, we got back on our feet again, and it's like, right, okay. Because bear in mind, both of us had separate businesses. We weren't a partnership at that point. And then we went on holiday and had a bit of the brainwave about having a partnership. Again, made the decision in a bar. We need to keep out of bars, I think. And we just made a decision to form a partnership as opposed to being independent business owners. And so we had invested in a lot of money. Alan had been working on his own, but he'd been starting to pull me into the business quite a lot. Just because he was getting that busy, he needed the backup support. And he knows I'll always tell him the truth. I'm not somebody that will pull, I'm not a BSer,
Yeah.
I won't tell him what he wants to hear. I'll tell him the truth. And sometimes we have words over it, but it is what it is. And I suppose that's one of the things about having husband and wife working together or partners working together. You need that honesty with each other, because you're not going to get anywhere if you just try and pander. It doesn't work.
That's true.
So he obviously wanted my opinions, and sometimes he got them that he didn't actually want, but there we go. So then we decided to form a partnership.
Yeah.
So, and we formed the Podiatry Gait Clinic.
Yeah, Sharon, it says here that you did some feng shui training.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why it is.
Yeah, John will get her, as I'm talking through the sub changes I've made.
Yeah.
People will see the eye rolls from Sharon. People listening on Spotify will probably hear the eye rolls from Sharon. I'm just doing my part of it at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we used to do like time sharing the clinic room, because I'd be doing feng shui consultations. I'd be going out on location and looking at people's buildings or offices and things. But yeah, I do some feng shui, and it's interesting. It makes designing a clinic interesting, but it works. So sometimes it's quite tricky when you're trying to work out the feng shui of a building and of a clinic room, and then the way that you've got to have your desk or your treatment table or your treatment chair or whatever it is doesn't really line up with where the electrics are. So it can make things tricky, but yeah, we work it. We work it.
That was one thing in my last clinic. Was one of the things we did when all our desks, there were no corners on our desk. Everything was rounded. So it was like a semicircle desk. There was no border between you and the patient. So when you were sitting there talking, it was like a nice flow of the desk going around to them.
Seamless.
And it made everybody happier. The patients seemed more relaxed when there wasn't that you sit in that corner. That's your edge. This is my edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I do wish that people would take it in more to consideration, because we feel it makes nicer clinics. Everybody that comes into our clinic says, "Oh, it's not clinical." People walk in and they think, "Oh, isn't it nice in here? It's very relaxed." People don't get white coat syndrome walking into our clinic, and people say, "Oh, this has got a really nice, warm, friendly atmosphere." And we go, "Yeah, that's exactly what we're aiming for."
Well, I'll admit, every clinic I designed myself never had a patient ever comment about it looked great. When I brought in someone who was a professional, who helped us design it and lay things out and make things flow, every time we did one of those clinics, patients would walk in, always comment on how nice the clinic looked and how comfortable everything felt. And when I look at what I used to do and what they do, and go, that's why I'm a podiatrist and not an interior decorator or design person. It's not my skill set. That's why you get a professional to do these things. So I actually think anyone who's going to build a clinic, bring in a professional, even if you just get some tips and advice from them, whether it's just color, how colors work together.
Very much.
It pays dividends long term.
And I think happy patients means happy bank balance, really. And it also means happy practitioners. So even it's just like the little things about where a patient sits when they're coming in, and making sure that they're comfortable and you're comfortable, because you spend a long time in your clinic rooms and your clinics. So make sure you're happy with it, make sure it's comfortable, and make sure the layout is nice as well. And it's an interesting art, but it's one that definitely should be taken on board.
The only thing I designed that worked really well was the staff room. And I had it about 3 times the size of the normal staff room. And we had the wallpaper was a Hawaiian beach scene. So we'd done the whole staff room was done up like Margaritaville. So we had the bar fridge, and then we had bean bags and the whole idea. And when you walked into Margaritaville, no one was allowed to talk to you about work. It was like it was a work-free zone. You couldn't be talking on your phone in there. The idea, if you want to talk on your phone, get out. This was our quiet zone. That worked really well.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, you're detaching from the clinic environment, and then you're giving your brain time to go, I'm switching off from this. We used to, when we worked in IT, and we still do it now, we used to have this, it sounds crazy, but we used to have this teddy bear, because more often than not, you'd get stuck on a technical problem, and you didn't want to disturb your colleagues on the team because they were usually in the middle of coding or trying to find an error. So you'd be kind of sat there going, oh, what the heck is this problem? More often than not, and you probably found it as well, you've got a question, and as soon as you say it out loud, the answer comes to you. So what our boss did, he actually put this teddy bear on this divide. Oh, we thought, he's crazy. This guy is crazy. But what we used to do is take this teddy bear down, put him on the desk, and literally start asking the teddy bear what this problem was, what the answer was. And it was amazing how quickly the answer actually came to you. Not obviously not for the teddy bear, but it was kind of there. You just
That's
kind of trying to stand out in your own head without disturbing your colleague too much. And it really worked. And that's something we've taken away from that. We don't want a teddy bear now. But more often than not, he'll go to ask me a question, or I'll go to ask him a question. He goes, forget it, it's come to me, I'll deal with it. And
I do that.
But because you're detaching yourself from the environment to a certain extent, you then go, well, actually, yeah, I've had an epiphany now. I get it. And then you can get the answer and go back into it. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I do that with the dog. Because every now and then I'll be thinking about something. So I'll call the dog out from under my desk, ask the question. And the dog will just look at me like, you're an idiot. You should know this. And so it does, though. It does. I think as you're saying things out loud, you're actually hearing what you're saying instead of just having those thoughts in your head.
Yeah, definitely works.
See, this is one of those nuggets that we were talking about that Alan mentioned before, that when he's going through the podcast, you might be listening to someone's story, but then all of a sudden there's a side note about design or a side note about talking to your dog or a teddy bear. Something like that. They never would have thought about it. So everyone's going to have, maybe that's where the movie Ted came from.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Or maybe it's the TED Talks.
TED Talks.
Yeah, TED Talks. There you go. So, Alan, how many years have you been going to the Foot and Ankle Show?
We only started, was it 2022 or 23 was the first one?
2022 was the
2022, yeah.
Okay. And then from that, I was reading your bio too, it was from that all of a sudden you were starting to look at different equipment and bringing new stuff into your clinic and moving forward. Biomechanics assessments, as well as doing like the physical assessments. I had a treadmill and I videoed them using a webcam, and I have some software that I'd downloaded that was free, where you can have two videos playing at the same time. So you could show somebody how they were walking on the treadmill, and if they were running, you could show them that. And it worked, and you get good results with what I was doing. But it's down to client experience, which I can either touch now, but we might come onto it later on. And you think, it's like when you go to the dentist, they say you need a filling, but then when they take an X-ray and they show you it, you can actually see it. So we were saying we really need to get something a little bit better than just a webcam and a treadmill.
To be fair, your experience with the Ministry of Defence, I mean, you saw it all. I mean, there probably wasn't anything that you didn't see.
Never say that, because it'll walk in tomorrow.
Well, at the MOD, and so that was transposed quite a lot into clinic.
So we weren't relying on, it was more your own skills than relying on the technology to get the results. But you're seeing what's out there and you're thinking, it makes a lot of sense. You're seeing this stuff. And I think we went along with the intention of probably about £6,000 to buy some gait analysis equipment, and we went up to see the Gait in Motion. Obviously, other supplies are available. But we went to see Gait in Motion, and they showed us their foot scan system, and it was like, this is really good. And when you saw how you did different assessments, like the standing on the pad, seeing how the balance was, doing the dynamic walk, seeing the centre of pressure was going, and when you'd be seeing the actual experience of it, seeing how the foot's moving over the pad and how the foot was moving. And so it was double what we were expecting to pay. But like I say, it was a good investment. And of course, we needed custom orthotics from that. It's all 3D printed out, which is great, because if you need a second pair for somebody, you click reorder. I'm to hope that somebody's going to remake them exactly the same as the first time. Is it the same person? Do they have access to the same materials? So the whole experience of doing that, and when the client sits in front of you and you're showing them, you put them over the foot scan. We also added a movement sensor to it later on as well. So you've got all this technology that's not just showing them how they're walking. You've got measurements, you've got readings, you've got graphs, you can show them stuff. You can do a second follow-up or a third follow-up later, and it compares them. You can see whether they're improving, have they got worse. And this is what people expect these days.
Oh, definitely.
They don't want to see somebody being videoed walking down the corridor and saying, this is what you need. So
I find that funny though. It's because it is one of the things when I do the marketing masterclass that you come along to, one of the things I mention is when you're communicating, when you say something to a patient, what you say and what they see are two completely different things.
Yeah.
So when you say, hey, we're thinking about doing shockwave on you. Now, if anyone grew up watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, when you mention shockwave, you see the little electrodes on the head and a biter that he's gripping on and foaming at the mouth. That is shockwave. So sometimes doing things and just saying to a patient, I'll walk down the hallway, come back, oh, this is what's happening with your foot. They have no idea what you're talking about. Whereas if you can use equipment to show them and explain things and use visual models and those type of ideas, your communication just opens up and your business grows really fast when you start doing that. Yeah.
I think the other thing is when someone's walking over a foot scan, if they've got one leg longer than the other, they're going to be out of balance. Yeah. You tell them, look, it's not just the pad that's telling us what to do. That's helping me with my assessment. My assessment is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm seeing. This is helping me, but that doesn't mean you've got one leg longer than the other. So when we do your orthotics, we know if your left leg's the shortest one, we can put a heel raise on that and lift up, and that's going to balance you, and that's going to help everything just move better. And you can see them going, yeah, I get that. Yeah. So, and I think the other thing I mentioned in the email was I used to predominantly do off-the-shelf orthotics, pre-formed, and they were very good. They did the job. But then when you come to custom orthotics, because the 3D printed and they adjust them as you walk, they're zoned off. When you explain the difference to a client between a pre-formed and a 3D printed that's fully designed for their foot, their weight, how they're moving, they understand why there's a difference in price. And I think one of the best tips I was told was, if you explain that your pre-formed is a bit like going into a chemist and you buy a pair of reading glasses. Yeah. It makes it slightly bigger and crisper, and it does the job to a certain extent. But what the 3D printed ones is with the latest adjusted, that's your varifocals. It's your reading, it's your middle distance, and it's all that in there, but it's under your face. And then anybody that's bought varifocal glasses, they know the difference in price from a cheap pair of reading glasses. And then and they understand the technology better, so they understand the product that you're selling them that they need. So
I think sometimes keeping it simple. Patients they're not technical. They don't have, the majority of them don't have that much anatomy knowledge. So keeping it simple for them and explaining to them in very black and white terms, sometimes a bit grey, what's going on with them and what you've got that can help them. Because that's what they want to know. They want to know, what's my problem and what's your solution? What can you do to help me? And as long as you can get that across to the patient or the client, that look, this is what you need. This is the best thing for you. That's all the patient wants. They have a problem. They're looking for the solution. And it's as plain and simple as that. Maybe too simplistic, but that's how I see things. That's how I see any sort of business. You've got a client, you've got a patient, they've got a problem, you have the solution, you deliver
explain it. Yeah, and I think the other important part too, and we've mentioned this on the podcast a few times, is the amount of time it takes to explain a pre-made and how it works and what it does is the same amount of time it takes to explain a custom-made.
Yeah.
But the custom-made is so much better than the pre-made, and it's far more profitable for your business. So I used to give patients one option. They come in, we go through it, explain everything to them and say, okay, I'm going to explain, if these were my feet, if this was my parents' feet, if this was my child, this is what I'd be making for them. And I'd explain a custom-made orthotic. Yeah. And that's all I explained. I never gave them any options. I gave them one option. And they either said yes Or no, well, I never asked them yes or no. I'd say, so would you prefer a morning or afternoon appointment to get this going? And then if they went, hang on, because I just assumed everyone came to me because they wanted to get fixed.
Mhm.
So, and then if they said to me, and it's not that every patient that came in got orthotics, we did have other treatment options. But if I was going to explain orthotics, I only explained one thing. I didn't go, but you could also get these primo ones and then go through that. I would worry about that after they said they didn't want to follow the plan that I'd first put in place.
Yeah, I've had people say, ouch, I didn't think it'd be that much, but they've still bought it. They've still gone for it because they've been taken through the journey. They've been shown, look, we've done this assessment, it's showing you what's gone wrong, it's showing you what's happening. This is the support you need. It's not like we've just had a quick, I think this is what you need. You've proved, you've gone through the whole process with them. So it's not like you've just pulled something off the shelf, this will do, yeah.
I used to like patients telling me it was too expensive.
Yeah.
I used to actually, every now and then, I would hope they would say it was too expensive because I was always working on funny lines that I could come back with. So I'd be explaining, I go, come on, tell me this is too expensive. And they go, oh, that's a bit expensive. I go, how much too expensive is it? Because in their head, they always had an idea. Or I go, oh, okay, what did you think it was going to cost?
Yeah.
And they would tell me, and I go, oh, really? You thought it was going to be that cheap? And they go, oh, and we'd have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get all upset. So I used to explain it every now and then, hoping somebody would say there was a problem with the price so that I could test out a new reply.
Yeah.
Because I know some podiatrists, and I've seen podiatrists do it. I've seen other people in other businesses do it when they're really comfortable, they're relaxed, the flow's going. They're as relaxed as Samuel L. Jackson. That's how cool they're feeling. Then all of a sudden, when it comes to explaining the cost, you hear the voice change, the body language, they tighten up. And I've seen salespeople do it to me when they're trying to sell me something. And I usually point it out to them, which makes it even worse for them. I'll say, you got really uncomfortable having to explain the price. And you can see them just go into this shell. That's mean. I shouldn't do that. But it's fun.
I think practitioners have to remember that not everybody is going to be your patient or your client or your customer. Not everybody is for you. And there will be people out there that will be able to, that they have a business model that can adopt cheaper prices. And that's their business model.
It's true.
We don't just pluck prices out of the air and go, oh yeah, we'll just charge that. There is the rationale behind the prices that we charge. And there's a reason we charge those prices. But no, we recognise that not everybody is going to be our client. And that's okay. We're okay with that. And if they want to go somewhere else that's cheaper, that's fine. That's okay with us. Because we know our market, we know who we're appealing to, and we know what we charge. We're worth it. We're good. And we value what we do. And that's why we won't quibble on our prices. Our prices are our prices. And we've had people asking us and said, oh, can you do it any cheaper? Like, how many toes have you got? Because do you want 8 toenails clipping? Do you want 1 foot corn debriding? Because these are our prices and there's a reason for that. And it's because we are good at what we do. But if you don't want to pay it, that's okay. We don't mind.
Yeah.
You know, happy to go somewhere else. Not a problem.
There'll be some podiatrists listening to this who they will always have a hang up when it comes to the money. And usually the podiatrist has more of a problem with it than the actual patient. And this leads on to back to Alan's initial email that he sent me.
Sidetracked.
There's going to be a lot of editing.
Oh, no, that's okay. Because you said some of your clinic thought processes changed. Like you put your prices up and you don't worry about losing clients.
Yeah. You've got to put your price up because, as you said on many podcasts, it's not just the money that you're getting in today to pay for today's clinic and just pay your salary so you can afford to go home and eat. It's investment in your clinic longer term.
Yep.
So you've got to get the money in. It's like if you buy a car, you know that car's not going to last forever. You've got to service it and maintain it. And at some point, you've got to change it to get something that's a bit more reliable. And it's exactly the same with all the equipment in the clinic. So what you charge, you're not just charging to make a massive, big fat profit. You're thinking, I need that because next year I need a new autoclave, or at the sonic cleaners on its way out, or we've had this laser for 5 years. There's going to be something better coming out around the corner. It's going to cost us another £9,000-10,000. So you need the money to keep pulling it in so the clients can get that experience when they come into you. They know you've got something up to date. You're not using something that's 10, 15 years old.
And you've got to invest in yourself.
Yes.
One of the key
true.
things that we found is that you've got to invest in yourself, whether it's training or it's giving yourself a holiday, because all work and
Another
no play.
beach bar. You need another
Yes.
beach bar to make some major life decisions.
You know, if you're feeling absolutely deprived because you're not paying yourself a decent wage and you can't pay your own bills at home and you haven't had a holiday in the last 10 years and the car that you're running around in is a pile of junk, and you just think, you think this is not worth it. So you need to put some value on yourself and make you realise that you are worth it.
Yeah, I always find it funny when I see a podiatrist, I care more about my patients than I do about money. And I go, people lie about other things as well.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear that and I see a podiatrist that's been working for 20 years and they're driving a clapped out Datsun 180B, and I'm just going, really? Do you realize the lifestyle you lead after doing podiatry for 20 years? There's younger people who are thinking about becoming podiatrists. They look at you and they're going, wow, is that what podiatry is going to look like for me after 20 years?
Yeah.
And that's usually because they're not charging enough money.
And the other thing, what people they may not realise is that you could be going to your clapped out Nissan or whatever it is, clapped out Ford, go to the supermarket, okay? How do you not know that one of your clients is going to see you driving that car? And they have a perception, your clients, patients have a perception of you. And if you're driving a really clapped out old car and you look like you haven't got two pennies to rub together, they're going to think, wow, you're not very good. You're not doing very well for yourself, are you? There is that kind of that double-edged sword. They may think, oh, if you're charging too much and you're running around a Mercedes, you're charging too much. But patients would much rather have faith in somebody that's not driving a battered old car and doesn't look like they're doing very well for themselves. Because then what sort of faith are you putting out there? And you don't know who runs into you. We've lost count how many times patients have run into us in shops and come and said hello. And so that's why when we go out, doesn't matter where we go, we always make sure that we're well dressed.
You make sure Alan's wearing pants.
Exactly. It's this problem.
I know. It's funny. I wish he was wearing them on the video here. It's been putting me off for the last 45 minutes.
We promised we wouldn't talk about that.
That's right from the waist up over. So yes, and the other thing is on the list. We'll go back to the list, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Is again, is what people can afford. What people afford to choose their money on is their choice. It's not yours, and you've got to. When somebody comes in to see you, you've got to tell them the services that you offer, and it's up to them whether they decide to take it up or not. And I think one of the bigger clinches was I was driving in one day, and the phrase that came up is, if someone comes in, if you don't tell them the services that you can do to help them or what you can offer them, you're doing them a disservice. Yeah. If you think they can't, if you're judging them and thinking you can't afford this, I'm not going to tell you about it. You're doing them a huge disservice. And I think that's one thing that rung home with me. Now, I think with me, it's like, you don't want to embarrass somebody by saying, we can do this, and they say, can't really afford, that's a bit too expensive for me. You don't want to embarrass somebody, but you don't know what their financial situation is.
Nope.
You don't know where their priority is in life.
You should never judge.
And I think the other thing that came out of one of the podcasts was people will spend more money in the last 12 months of their life trying to stay alive. So if we can give them the option to live healthier, longer, while they're younger
and more comfortable,
then it is our duty to do it. So
it is one of those things though. Peter Wishney always talks about, he doesn't just fix feet, he gives people an extra 10 years of their life, because if he can get them pain-free and get them more active, they're going to be healthier, cardiovascular is going to be better, and you could be giving them an extra 10 years. So you don't look at it just as the foot problem. But the reason I always say you shouldn't prejudge patients, if you've ever been prejudged yourself for whatever reason, and you know how much that hurts and you may not say anything, but it can upset you and frustrate you. And I'm thinking, why would you ever do that to one of your patients? Just assume everybody's equal regardless of what they're wearing. They might pull up in your car in the car park in a Datsun 180B because they just don't care about cars.
Yeah.
But they might have $2 million in the bank. You don't know.
Yeah.
No.
So don't judge them.
Yeah. The other thing I've done in line with that is when somebody comes into the clinic, if it's a new person, they may have just come in to have a corn removed, but I tell them about everything else that we've got. And I say, I know you're coming for a bit of routine foot care, you've got a painful corn, but I say, look, we've got this laser here. This helps with muscle strains and wound healing, etc. People have had really bad heel pains being ongoing for months. We've got a shockwave. Next to the last one on the end, we've got an ultrasound. So if you're coming in and we're testing stuff and you've got a pain somewhere, as part of that, we can do an ultrasound to see what's going on. And then you tell them about everything that you've got in the clinic.
Yeah.
A perfect example of this was a lady came in to see me for a painful call. And just while we were working on that, I explained what else we had. And she just happened to tell me that her daughter, who was sat in the car outside, who brought her there, had twisted a knee playing basketball. So from that, she booked a foot pain assessment and then a course of 3 sessions of laser to get her knee on holiday in just over 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to educate your patients.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very important to tell people everything that you do. They might not need it, but half them say, oh, so he has a problem with that. I'll tell them about that. And that's what's spreading the word about what you do.
Yeah, and that's why when some people, they might say, oh, I'm not really into biomechanics. I'm not into MSK. And I just go, seriously? Imagine going to your doctor. Oh, no, sorry, I don't do blood pressure. I'm not really into blood pressure. Oh, well, I'll ask you questions and I'll take your pulse and I'll send you off for a blood test, but I don't do blood pressure. Never really been into that. Never quite understood it. It's not the thing that I do. You'd be going, I'm going to report you. You shouldn't be doing it. And I think podiatrists who do not understand biomechanics, and this might upset a few people, they don't understand biomechanics and they don't care about learning it and becoming better and making orthotics an option to their patients. I don't think they should be working. You might love routine foot care and that's what you really want to do. But I still think you need to understand biomechanics so you can, if you notice a problem, even if you don't want to do it, you can say to the patient, there's a podiatrist down the road who does this really well. It's not my area that I enjoy, but I'm going to refer you on. Like a GP would refer you on to a heart specialist. But to just turn a blind eye. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Annoying.
We've lost count how many times we've had people come in for routine foot care and they're trying to get onto the chair or onto the couch and their backs are aching and he'll say, you've got a bad back. Yeah, I've had this bad back for ages. And straight away it's like light bulb moment. It's like, well, hang on a minute, could this be coming from the feet?
Yeah.
And even though it's routine podiatry, he'll do a couple of just checks. He goes, I think this could be coming from your feet. And the chances are they might have a limit discrepancy. And that's what's been causing the back pain, and then even back and forth to hospitals and having scans and not having found any problems, and they're living on painkillers. And just something as simple as that, you can go, hang on a minute, you've got a bad back. Just it's that little nugget, and showing the patient that you're caring, that you've noticed that they're struggling getting on the couch or they're struggling getting on the chair. And they then feel appreciated because you're very aware of the way that they're moving. And they'll go, oh yeah, this practitioner obviously cares about what they do. And they're showing that they care.
But even if you don't want to do it, like that's what I mean, you might just love routine foot care and your clinic is only set up to do routine foot care. But don't neglect your patient's health because you don't have the setup. Have a relationship with a podiatrist down the road that has all the equipment, and then you refer your patients down there. And you might find that they don't particularly like routine foot care, and they might send some of their routine foot care patients back to you. But I think you've got to you have to be open to all this. You can't just put blinkers on and think, no, I'm not going to do it. I get frustrated whenever I hear it.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do nail surgery anymore. We used to years ago. It's not my cup of tea. Yeah.
But part of our problem is the redressing, the frequency and things like that. We just haven't got the capacity and the appointments to do it.
But there's loads of other clinics now that do. So there's that one there, there's that one. I know they do it. Have a chat with them. And I say, if you're not sure, have a chat with all three, see which one you feel you get the best vibe from.
I mean, we've built up quite a rapport with a couple of local podiatrists that do nail surgery, and we've referred quite a lot, and they don't do biomechanics themselves, so they refer to us.
And that's how podiatry should work.
Exactly. Or it's no good being a jack of all trades and master of none.
No, I think the dinosaurs, I actually have this really, I have a vision in the future. I hope I'm around long enough to see this, but I think all the crusty old dinosaurs that are in the profession that have got these blinkers on, who have, they're outside of just routine foot care, they have no other skills. There's nothing. That eventually over the next 10, 15 years, they're all going to just drop off and disappear. But all the younger podiatrists coming through, I think, are going to change the profession. They're the ones that are going to really set the landscape up for the future. Because the old crusty ones, they're not going to change. They'll still just make excuses. I bet I care about my patients, or I'm not into biomechanics. And I think, excuse. I just wanted to touch on a few more things that you actually had written in your email, that you were slowly reducing your hours, having a bit more leisure time, and you're not as burnt out and stressed, which I think is good, all because of the podcast.
I'm trying to cut the hours down a little bit. Last year, we made Friday was just Friday morning only. So Friday afternoon, go off and do other stuff. What we're doing this year is every other Friday, I'm taking off. So we get a 3-day weekend every other week. And basically, as the weather improves, we bought a small caravan.
But I had a bit of a stupid brainwave after a couple of mojitos, and I bought a micro caravan.
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to use this micro caravan and just go away with the dog every other weekend and have some fun.
Can I just say, I don't want anyone listening to this to take away this. You need to get a drink problem in order to boost your clinic.
Yeah, it sounds that way. This episode will be life decisions at a beach bar. That's
So, but the idea is that we'll have a range of sites within about 1 or 2 hours drive, so that when we've got a 3-day weekend coming up, we just hitch the caravan, zip off the weekend, switch off, turn the phone off, and just have some chill out time. Then you come back to work Monday morning nice and refreshed.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. And the other thing you had in your email too is you only get better at certain skills by doing them more often.
Yes.
Like video, social media, public speaking.
Talking. Yes.
So you heard that probably multiple times.
When you stand next to a consummate professional, it is hard to step up a bit.
Consummate professional.
But things like you say, things like your social media and stuff, it only improves with you doing more of it. But even some of your clinic skills. So, for example, if you bought your laser, but you find you're not getting bookings for it, when people come in, if you see them limp, they say, "What have you done?" "I've twisted my knee." "Okay, we'll quickly do it. We'll give it a quick blast with the laser, and then if you find it helps, then we'll book some sessions in." Or if someone says, "Oh, I've pulled a muscle doing a run," we'll do this and we'll quickly put the ultrasound on it, rather than wait for someone to book an MSK session where they've already got an injury. You've got your current clients in, you can pull your equipment, use it, switch it on, have it ready. And the more you use it, the more you play with it, the better you're going to get with it, rather than sitting there waiting for somebody to book a specific type of appointment and then get out and fight and think, "Right, I'm under the crush now. I've got to be able to use this straight off." The more you use it, the more you're going to get familiar with it, the more you're going to get confident.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing too for like anyone who's a new graduate. You get out, you get your first job. You might end up taking a job where MSK, biomechanics, the place we work in doesn't do that a lot. They don't have all the toys, and you are doing a lot of routine foot care. Don't let your skills die. Is in your spare time, in your days off, in your holidays, go to courses. Talk to your friends you graduated with. Where are they working? Can you come in there for a day and spend the money and go and travel somewhere for a week, and just keep those skills sharp so that you don't lose them? Because I find what happens is people get poor jobs the first couple of years.
Yeah.
They don't use the skills. And because they don't use the skills, they diminish, the confidence drops. And then all of a sudden they start telling people, "Oh, I'm not really into biomechanics." And it's not, it's just, you haven't used it. So you have to keep doing it. Now, one last thing I want to finish on, this was in your email, but I'm actually going to say it here as well, is if you've listened to today's episode and you did not get anything from it, I want you to give yourself an uppercut, take 2 Panadol, have a lie down, get back up and listen to it again. I forget that I forget. I forget I used to say that a lot. But it's true.
Yeah.
I have had some podiatrists who have sent me messages and go, "Oh, your podcast is terrible. It shouldn't exist. There's no value in any of it." And I'm like, seriously? Oh, and the best one was a post that was in the UK podiatry group once. Only an idiot would go on the Podiatry Legends podcast. Yeah.
Really?
So I've had over 400 idiots and we all like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if somebody thinks that, then it could be they haven't got the confidence to do it. So, that people criticise what they can't do themselves.
I do get that. I have invited some people and they've gone, "Oh, I'm not quite sure what to say." And I understand the confidence side of things.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are worried what other people will think, which you shouldn't do, but totally get it. Been there myself over the years. Now, before we wrap up, Alan and Sharon, anything you want to say before we finish?
Take some time out and if you're going to make some decisions, you do your best thinking when you're not in the thick of it, which is what we found quite a lot. And remember, what other people think of you is none of your business.
That's true. Alan?
Yeah. That's get yourself to conferences. If you're thinking of changing anything in your clinic, whether it's a new foot cream you're going to start using or a new drill bit or a burr, get yourself to conferences where they've got the stalls, see the stuff, feel the stuff, because you can't get the same sense from looking at stuff on the website. You need to be there and just interact with it. And I said the only disadvantage to going to a conference is that when you turn up, you think you've got so much knowledge. And when you come away, you find out how much you don't know.
That's true.
You find you come away that you know a lot less than what you thought you did.
But that's a good thing.
But it is a good thing. It just drives you forward to learn more stuff.
And one last thing, which I think that people could take away from this, I would say, come and book your conference with you.
Oh, God, you got in before I said it. I was going to say that anyone who's listening, if you've listened to this far and you want to get better at marketing, you want to walk away with, like, the marketing day is completely different to anything you'll have attended before. But you will come away with a pile of ideas. You will have a lot more direction in what it is you want to do. So if you want to get better in that area and you're going to the foot and ankle show, even if you aren't, just make the effort. Go to my website, tysonfranklin.com, click on events, and just book in for it. There's still plenty of seats available. And it's gonna be a fun day. I'm really looking forward to it. And the other thing I want to say to everybody too, if you've listened to a few episodes, you know that I put an Easter egg sometimes at the end of an episode. There will be an Easter egg at the end of this episode. After the music finishes, there'll be a pause, then there'll be the Easter egg. And this Easter egg is provided by Alan. So they have to hang around to the end to hear it. So, Alan and Sharon, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, sharing your words of wisdom and advice for everybody. And I look forward to seeing you both in Liverpool.
Definitely.
Great stuff. Excellent.
Thanks very much for having us on, Tyson. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyson.
Well, if there's one theme that kept popping up throughout today's conversation, it's this. Clarity doesn't come when you're stuck inside the clinic. It comes when you step away from it. Alan and Sharon didn't make the biggest decisions buried in emails, spreadsheets, or appointment books. They made them on holidays, in beach bars, away from the noise, away from the pressure. And that's not accidental. When you're constantly on, everything feels urgent. Every decision feels heavy, and over time, you stop thinking clearly. You default to what's familiar, and that's not always the best. What I love about this story is that nothing was rushed, but nothing was avoided either. They reflected, they adjusted, they invested in themselves, their clinic, and their lifestyle. And slowly, the stress dial came down while the confidence dial went up. If you're listening to this and thinking, I know something needs to change, I'm not sure what, that's usually a sign. Not that you're failing, but that you've outgrown where you are right now. That's also where coaching can help. Not because you need fixing, but because sometimes you need space, structure, and an external perspective to see what's right in front of you. If you want to talk through your clinic, your workload, maybe your pricing, or simply where you want podiatry to fit into your life over the next few years, you are welcome to reach out. No pressure, no hard sell, just a conversation. And even when it comes to marketing, if you think you're already great at marketing, and you may well be, but I'll guarantee that if you come along to one of my podiatry marketing masterclasses, the good ideas you already have will improve. They will go from good to great, and I guarantee it will spark new ideas that were lying dormant. You can find everything about my coaching and my upcoming workshops. Just go to my website, tysonfranklin.com, or feel free to send me an email, tf@tysonfranklin.com, and we'll see if working together makes sense. And as always, I want to thank you for listening to the Podiatry Legends podcast. It means a lot to me. And if you've got something from today's episode, take a moment to reflect on it, preferably somewhere away from the clinic, because sometimes the best decisions really are made at the beach bar. And as promised, here is today's Easter egg provided by Alan. And it's a quote that he gave me, and it says, no matter how long you have traveled in the wrong direction, you can always turn around. Okay, so what's that mean? This quote means no matter how much time, effort, or energy you've invested into a path that no longer feels right, and sometimes it's an inner feeling, you are never trapped by it. Past choices do not dictate future decisions. Once you recognize that you are headed in the wrong direction, you still have the power to actually change course. Turning around is not failure. It's an awareness, and it takes courage to actually do this. Growth often begins when admitting something isn't working. The quote reminds us, or it should remind us, that progress is not about how far you've gone, but about choosing a direction that aligns with who you are now and where you want to go in the future. So Alan, thank you very much for providing that Easter egg. That was fantastic. And I hope everybody else got something from it as well.